I figured I may as well tape this. There is a little bit of a trick here. As you can see, the arms have these angled off areas plus that central tab, and those go with this little circle here. Getting those tabs to sit flush like this and then fit is actually a little bit of a trick, and is probably going to be the most difficult aspect. Unless I'm doing it upside down, of course. That could always be a possibility. But regardless, getting these three arms to fit here like this, and then to set. Let's try this again with a bigger piece of tape. I'm sure a few of you out there are looking at this going, here's a better way to do it, Tom. You're just a fool. Well, that's probably true. And I think we got it. Or at least good enough to get it into here. And then to get, well, always a trick. So we got some registration pins on the inside of here, but there are no registration holes on the inside of there. So there is probably going to be a little sag in the arms. And we'll talk about that in the comparison to the garage kit that I mentioned. Okay, so seeing these two side by side is definitely a treat for me here. Differences immediately stand out. The hanger deck on the bottom of the garage kit, this is a Mini Model Madness kit from probably a few years ago. I couldn't tell you the status of it nowadays. I haven't seen it around in a long time. It had its flaws and its problems, but overall it was, theoretically at least, researched very, very well. And definitely better than this guy here, which is nothing on round two, don't get me wrong there. This is AMT's batch of mess right there. So the clamshell here, you can see, would essentially fold into itself. Over here, all AMT did was to put some strips on the hull. And that's true for each of the docking arms too. Self-folding clamshells as opposed to these strips. The aspects of them is definitely a little squatter. The hanger deck is pretty flat. The arm receptor there in the middle is definitely beefier on this guy. There's a few more details down there in the central core, as you can see. That's also seen here as well in that rounded section there. Over here, I probably glued that storage tank on upside down. There's a flat side up top, whereas this one just has this little bit of a nub on the back here. Let me spin the Mini Model around as well, just so we can see the differences. So each of these kits definitely have their problems. In this case, this was just a really slapshod, definitely rough looking model. I'll leave it at that. Whereas this guy has just as many seams to deal with, but you get the other inaccuracy errors. The aspect of the domes is distinctly different. Here we just have simple cones, and there we've got a really nice subtle curvature to them. I don't know if the antenna is correct or not. I couldn't tell you. One did not come with the Mini Model, but as you can see, the dome there is definitely a bit more elegant than this guy here. Overall, each one has its flaws. I don't know that the Mini Model is still around at all. K-7 here from round two could be the one that you are looking at nowadays. I would like to light both of them, but that's an entirely other story. One interesting side note is that a NASA contractor back in the 60s or 70s created a foldable moon base, basically, design, and it looked like Matt Jeffries or someone on the Star Trek team basically lifted the design almost point for point insofar as it was a folding clamshell. And rather than making K-7 out of this, I might just do that. It could be an interesting little piece. I'll have to dig up some photos. I don't know if it was Lockheed or yeah, I couldn't guess which contractor it was, but I'll look that up at some point, and when I start building this, I'll definitely have reference photos for that. Don't know that there's too much else to mention. Like I said, this kit is all AMT. Round 2 is definitely really great to have re-released it again. And let me put the mini model here. Oh, one other last thing, I guess, is I'll mention size overall. Round 2's K-7 is about 17 inches, which puts the mini model at about 19 or 20. The scale of the AMT kit, well, this is really the only reference we have, is that Enterprise there. And I think what happened back then was that AMT probably got a reference photo from the show which had the Enterprise in the background, and they just figured it was a side-by-side comparison, and they made this that small, whereas the mini model here is supposedly at 1/1000 scale, and I'll go and get a 1/1000 model to match it. So here we've got the 1/1000 D7 also from round 2. And I'm thinking that's a much more realistic scale than this little tiny guy there, as compared to this for that and this for that. So this could be in the 900, 950 scale, somewhere in there. Yeah, that just looks far more realistic seeing those two together than seeing these two together. So let me put these out of the way, and we'll wrap up. So I'll definitely conclude by saying that I'm really glad round 2 is taking the time and the effort and the cash to re-release all these models that haven't been seen in so many years. This is definitely one, like I said, AMT is not the most accurate model kit producer for 1960s and 70s, and this definitely does not live up to 21st century model kit standards. But for a re-release, a repop as they're called, it's definitely good to see this guy back again. eBay was the only other choice, and the costs there were just exorbitant. So this is definitely a good one, especially for the nostalgic factor, definitely not for the accuracy factor. Seeing the original artwork definitely would have been nice, but it's certainly a nice piece of new artwork that they've re-released. And it'll be interesting to see if round 2 goes with the short boxes for all the upcoming kits as well. There will be a tin box collector's edition of this coming out supposedly in August. That's at least going to have a tribble in there if they follow suit with the poster prints like they have with the other tin box models, and you can definitely expect to see that. But there's going to be 3 different colored tribbles, 1 per box, so you may wind up spending a few bucks getting all 3. So I'm pretty sure that's it at this point. As always, thanks for watching. I look forward to bringing you more model reviews, and I'll catch you later. See ya.